By the way, speaking of Donald Trump news, his attacks on John McCain, all over the Republican Party, including Jeb Bush. People are saying, "Oh my God, he attacked a veteran who served in Vietnam and was wounded and ended up a prisoner of war. How could he attack a veteran?" Remember Max Cleland? I remember Max Cleland really well. I lived in Georgia back when he was a senator from Georgia. Max Cleland went to Vietnam, and he lost both his legs and his right arm. All he had left was his left arm and his head and his torso. That was it. And he came back and he ran for the Senate, and he won, and he was a good senator who really, really worked on behalf of veterans. And Saxby Chambliss ran against him. Ann Coulter, when Saxby Chambliss was running against him, he ran against him basically comparing him to Osama bin Laden. And Ann Coulter said that Max Cleland should, quote, stop allowing Democrats to portray him as a war hero. There was this whole thing about how, he fell on his own hand grenade or something like that. And it's to protect his friends. This sliming of Max Cleland. And then he was 2 points ahead in the polls, and he lost by 2 points in the general election. In the first election in the state of Georgia, where it was 100% counted by electronic voting machines that had absolutely no paper trail, which is a whole other issue. Remember Tammy Duckworth? Tammy Duckworth is now in Congress. Joe Walsh was her Republican opponent, and he said that she wasn't a real hero. You can see the clips of the three of these up at the top of Democratic Underground right now. She wasn't a real hero, and she should shut up about her military service. This is a verbatim quote from Republican Joe Walsh. That's all she talks about. Our true heroes, it's the last thing in the world they talk about. In other words, a true hero would never talk about their military service. Right. And then, of course, Jeb Bush writing to one of the Swiftboat veteran guys, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Washington, D.C. when my brother's inaugurated, and thank you for your support. Without the Swiftboat veterans, so-called, without the Swiftboat liars. And it's been, by the way, the whole Swiftboat narrative has been completely debunked. You can find it over at the New York Times. And there's a good link to that off a new article in Think Progress right now. The New York Times debunked it years ago. That, Jerome Corsi wrote the book. He's also the guy who wrote the book about how Obama's not a U.S. citizen. I mean, it's very bizarre.